So today we're going to do the first series to the Platty Daddy. Now this animal is being talked about all over the world. People are still trying to understand what's going on with it, but hopefully throughout this series I can try and shed some light on the Platty Daddy and show you some comparisons between normal animals and animals with the daddy complex involved in it. This is a Platty Daddy, a straight Platty Daddy. It's very similar to the one that Ralph originally got out of Africa in 1999. And when Ralph actually got the first platinum out of Africa in 1999, he actually thought it was dead. His story is on his website that shows us the journey of the Platty Daddy. He first bred it in 2001 breeding season, and he got some weird results out, and that's what's really throwing everyone. But this animal on its own is absolutely beautiful. There's no black anywhere on the animal. You see these piercing greeny blue eyes that are just wonderful, that she doesn't want to show you at the moment, do you, sweetheart? And the colour is totally different from a lesser or even a butter. Alright, so here is the clear difference between a platinum and a lesser platinum. You can see the colour difference for one, and this is one of Ralphie's original lesser platinum that actually derived from a Platty Daddy, but you can see that the colours are totally different and the markings are very different as well. When Ralph first bred the Platty Daddy out in 2001, he produced these, and he was stumped as to why he couldn't produce more platinums. So he thought maybe the super would have the key, but it wasn't that, and I'll show you what it was in a minute. Alright, so the $1 million question with the het daddies is, how do we get a platinum? So when Ralphie bred in 2001 a Platty Daddy to a normal, this is the results that he got. He got a lesser platinum, which is where the name came from, lesser platinum, and he also got these, what look like normals. What no one realized at the time is that these little guys that look like normals were the key to producing Platty Daddies. And eventually Ralph was able to find out that these bred back to lesser platinums produce Platty Daddies. Now the story gets even more interesting, because that is not the only thing the het daddy can unlock. The het daddy has a lot more power than that and can do a lot more than just work with lessers. We're going to come on to that in a minute. Alright, so what we have over here is a lesser pastel, albeit a really smoking one, in comparison to a lesser platinum. So the platinum, this animal over here, just has the daddy gene inside it over this animal. And as you can see, there are absolutely clear as day differences between the two animals. So for one, this animal does have black and very dark pigment in it. Albeit it's a nice one, and it's got saddles predominantly instead of alien heads, which you might mistake it to be a Platty Daddy because it has these trademarks. You can see a lot of other differences. Apart from sheer difference in colour, we'll come to the head. So that the head on both of them is also, they're totally different colours. And then the main thing again with the Platty Daddies, you have a huge difference in the eyes. So you see the lesser with a beautiful eye, it's more greeny, and then the platinum that has more of a bluey coloured eye. Very different in the two. Okay, here I hope you can see the differences quite distinctively. Here we have a phantom pin, and this guy over here is a phantom pin daddy. Now you can hopefully see the difference in colour straight off the bat. You know, they're two totally different coloured animals. I think you can see that. And then the other differences are with the back stripes of the animals. Now can you see with the Phantom Daddy, the back stripe is much more solid and it goes all the way through. It's unbroken pretty much the whole way from head to tail, and it doesn't have many dots in between the pinstriping through the back, whereas the Phantom Pin, the straight Phantom Pin, is broken all the way through it, and generally they do have more dot marks going through the pinstriping in the back. But that's not to say that you can't get a normal Phantom Pin without the full-blown pinstriping through the back. The other difference that you can see, and I hope is very transparent, is the markings across the side. I can't quite call them alien heads because they're not quite that, but the markings on the side are not very defined on the Phantom Pin, whereas on the Phantom Pin Daddy they're very, very defined and very pronounced. You can see that they're going all the way through the body. Probably on this side it's a bit more clear, all the way through the body, and it's pretty much aligned all the way through, whereas on the Phantom Pin it comes and goes, it fades in and fades out, and it's not as pronounced. So that's one clear difference there as well. There's not much else to see between these two, but I think that's enough on the appearance of these two animals. So here we have Mojaves, albeit not what you'd expect to see when you look for a Mojave. This is a very unusual Mojave that I got a couple of years ago and been growing on. She's very dark and she's just very different in colour as well. But I'm using her as an example to show you what the difference between a Mojave, albeit not a standard Mojave, in comparison to a Mojave Daddy. Now, clear and present differences are the colour. You know, this one's a much lighter shade. But then the other thing that pops out is the back stripe. This Mojave has a much longer back stripe, which is the Mojave Daddy, whereas this has a thicker back stripe, but only at places. It's dotted out most of the way through its body. The second thing you can recognise is the alien heads. The alien heads are much more uniformed throughout the body on this animal. And the third big difference is on most Mojaves you'll find these green specks going all the way through it, whereas on this one there is a couple of green specks, and as I presume as she grows she'll get more, but she's mainly got a few towards the tail end, but not as many as a normal Mojave would have. So to sum it up, the Mojave Daddy is much more crisp, clean and defined than the normal Mojave. But I think both of these girls are beautiful, and I think they'll both produce some very interesting offspring. Right, so now we've seen some of the subtle differences that the Platty Daddy or the Daddy gene has on animals, but I'm going to pimp it up right now and just go crazy, because this is, ladies and gentlemen, the Pimp Daddy, the King Pin Platinum. And whoa, I mean, if you could see a difference one so-called simple gene has, you know, it's just an enhancer gene as everyone's calling it, but if this is an enhancement, then oh my lord, it's like there's absolutely some other massive gene playing in on this animal. The colour's lighter, the back stripe, the yellow coming through the back stripe is just glowing. But the biggest difference is that the pattern through the side is just totally and utterly faded out. There is no marks down the side at all. And whereas in the Phantom it really brought out the markings on the side, with the lesser it's done absolutely the opposite. The head, very vibrant and bright, and again, sexy eyes. What people have to understand about the Daddy gene is, yes, it is an enhancer, and if it's a light gene, it will make the animal a lot lighter, or we hope it will, and it has done in every case that we've seen. And if it's a darker animal, it would enhance those darker colours. So whichever way you're going to go around it, you're looking to add the Daddy into a gene to make it really pop. At the moment, from what we know, the Daddy gene has worked with all Bell complex animals, all blue-eyed Lucy complex animals, and that's all it's had a real significant effect on. But time will tell whether we can get something else. But right now, Miss Pimp Daddy has found a new home in the UK at the Reptilepit, and I'm loving every little bit of this girl. She's beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Ralph Davis.